Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Bobby J on 30A. I'm your
How you doing?
What's up, Bobby?
I'm good. Good,
Bobby
man.
Johnson. Bobby
Yeah.
Johnson. Hey, I like you.
I like you. I like you. Kick
Hey,
up
we
my
threw-
volume here, man.
We threw Beverly into your video, and like your views just went off the charts, right?
Yeah, I'm afraid that I don't let her know that though.
Okay.
She might take
Your
that
secret stayed with
somewhere.
me.
No, she was.
That's awesome.
You know, there was some periods there where she was nudging me.
Yeah.
Did I tell you this?
No, I don't think so, huh?
Okay, so Beverly is nudging me. Thank you. Thanks, Stacey. Underneath the table and like kind of boom, and I was like, you know, and after the vlog, I said, what were you doing? She goes, well, you were supposed to look at me. You were like, I was just staring at you, and you're supposed to look at me. And I'm like, Chris and we never talked about that, Chris. I mean, I didn't know the rules to vlog.
Yeah. Yeah, if I kick you twice, that means look at me.
I actually felt oddly, I felt like, this is going to sound weird, I was nervous. I felt like it was like a date.
Ah, nice.
Like, she was like kind of the aggressor towards me a little bit, and I didn't want to look over at her, and that was actually good for our marriage, actually. We had a good time with that. I think we learned a little bit about each other. It
was a good episode too, and it's had good reviews, good viewings, and all that stuff. So that's awesome. I want to continue the conversation of life, because I think one of the things that I'm learning about you. I mean, I kind of knew this, but the more we talk, the more I get to know. Like, part of what I like so much about you is that you're a real guy with perspective on life, and I think sometimes in the realm of marketing, people get too much into their stuff about marketing, and what we really want out here is just to connect with you as a human being. And so you're definitely that kind of guy. I know that you have a tool belt of life, the tool belt of life to help keep stress down. I'd like to know how you keep stress down, because you're a busy guy. And
wow.
So can we dive into your tool belt of life?
Sure, we can. And I think that, you know, I think everybody's got a little tool belt. I don't know that everyone's named it, the fact that they've got a tool belt.
They should name it.
They should name it. You know, I started, and again, you know, we've said over the shows, Chris, that's not always, we're not always who we say we are. You know, I go through stages where I can let stress completely get away from me, you know,
sure.
And then be pulled back in. I sometimes often feel a little bit like a yo-yo, you know, I'm stressed, I'm this and this. And I keep saying to myself, I'm going to get to that spot. Right. I think the older I've gotten, the more I realize that maybe that's just not realistic for life. You know, I'm not always going to be just, you know, right there. But I will tell you this, a long time ago, a friend said something, and he said, you know, I want to be okay. And I thought, wow, what a loser, you know, like, okay, I don't want to be, I want to be, you know, boom. But what I've learned over the years is that this leads to this. And it's okay to just be there, you know, and kind of steady as we go in life. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to have highs. It doesn't have to have lows. And I think the older I get, the more I realize that a day, you know, with a good book is all right. You know, it doesn't have to be any more than that sometimes. And so, I think the tool belt, you know, reminds me that I have some three simple things that we'll talk about today.
These would be three tools in the tool belt, I would imagine.
Three tools in the tool belt. Okay. One of the obvious that we're not going to get into is the physical component of exercise. I think everyone knows exercise reduces stress, and I'll leave that one off. Obviously, exercise helps me out with stress greatly. I discovered that when I was a child. I discovered it at a very young age. I think I was actually not as a child, as a teenager. I learned when I was about 13 years old that if I ran, I felt better. So for whatever reason, that cardio really helped me out, right?
Yeah.
So these are more mental, I believe. You and I have talked on them a little bit, touched on them a little bit. But one of the things that I do, number one, is I meditate. And I did study transcendental meditation. You know, you and I talked about that. I actually went to the class and learned the whole thing about transcendental meditation.
Did you get your secret word?
I did.
You did?
And I found the secret word, and the secret word reminds me of a friend that passed away, and I couldn't want to get it changed because I just didn't want when I'm meditating now, I think about this person a little bit too much, but
Mm.
I do have my secret word.
Mm.
But I always find that people say to me, they say with meditating, they go, they can't do it. You know, they don't know how to meditate, and well, I can't stop thinking, and I can't. And I go, well, that's the beauty of meditation. You know, is that you really. Can I let me try to see if I can explain transcendental meditation without the transcendental meditation people coming to get me and
Yeah,
steal
okay.
my mantra, right? I'll make it as simple as possible. And they say you're not supposed to probably give it away because you're supposed to go get it. But I think it's simple that enough to where people could learn how to do it and take what I'm about to tell you, take that little nugget and turn it into something. Because
Yeah.
the science behind meditating and blood pressure and stress reduction, it's real. So basically, the simple component of meditating is getting in a quiet space. Okay, closing your eyes like this. And before you start the mantra, and that mantra is that little word you spoke about, right?
Yeah.
The mantra begins. Now, I've been sitting for a few moments, and it's 20 minutes twice a day is what they recommend. I'll typically do it once in the morning. I'll forget to do it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I start the mantra. Okay, this is good stuff right here. Let's just say for the sake of conversation, the mantras, the word mantra, right?
Okay.
In my brain, I start saying mantra, 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 quietly to myself.
Hmm.
What happens typically, I leave the mantra and thought begins to occur.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So thought begins, and I come back to the mantra when I realize I've left the mantra.
Got it. Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
So a mantra, thought has come in, thought, I'm out there thinking now, you know, kind of like you've driven before and like,
Yep.
kind of wake up out of it and go, oh, holy cow.
How'd I get here?
Yeah. So, and the beauty of that is that it's freeing because you're allowed thought. You're never going to not be able to think, right?
Right.
So you do that for 20 minutes. And here's the best part. The more you do this, what happens is you not only have thought as you're thinking thought, you suddenly have no mantra, no thought after a while. And they say the less thought, the less of that you have, that's like stress leaving your body. Okay. So you can arrive into a mantra where mantra, next thing you know, you're in no thought, no mantra. And wow. You could take a 20-minute meditation and it feels like a 3-hour nap.
I was going to say, doesn't time stand still when you get to no thought, no mantra, when you get in that space? Like, yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. So,
I think that's important. I just want to punctuate that real quick because part of what we're talking about is stress. And I think stress is always, you never are not without stress because that's just part of being in the physical world. But the ability to leave it, the ability to get above it is I think what we're pointing to here, because if you can't get above it, then a lot of times we end up making choices, decisions, reactions in the middle of stress that aren't as productive maybe as we would want them to be.
Sure. And you're not going to run from stress. You're either going to deal with it. This is what I'm dealing with on a personal level right now. You're either going to deal with it now or you're going to deal with it later. Yep. You might as well figure out a way to deal with your stress because you're going to be dealing with it one way or another. Okay. The next one is breathing. And, I'm a yoga instructor as well as my wife's a yoga instructor. So breathing is a big part of, there's actually a book, I forget the name of it, it's called The Art of Breathing. No, I probably got that wrong. My wife is going to kill me for that one.
She's going to kick you under the table.
Breathing, think about it. What's the first thing we do when we're born and the last thing before we die?
Yeah, breath, yep.
Breath. And most of us breathe from right up in the upper chest. Yep. That's why sometimes you'll find yourself going, you need breath. There are many techniques you can go online and figure out. I do this thing called sky breathing, where it's a series of bringing in breath, holding, letting go breath, holding, breathing in breath. You do that, 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day. Typically what I try to do is I do that when I first wake up. I do my breathing first. I know I started with meditating, but I like to get a little breath work in.
Yeah.
and then begin meditating. In the middle of the day, sometimes when I'm in very stressful situations, I will take some time to go in a quiet room, turn the lights off, and breathe. And you can literally feel your blood pressure go down. You know, there's a lot of science behind the fact of these tools that I'm talking about. Instead of, they will not only manage your blood pressure, they can fix your blood pressure.
Wow.
On a continued basis, you meditate, you breathe, and this final one here, you will get rid of your blood pressure. Of course, that is over the period of time. You know, again, like I said, the science behind meditating and breathing is, you know, I took a course. I went to this place called The Art of Living in North Carolina. I thought it was a yoga retreat, all right? And Beverly tricked me, and it was a weekend of nothing but breathing techniques.
No way. Really?
I can't even get in all of it, but she knew how bad I needed it. Because I tend to breathe from up here, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? I've always had borderline hypertension. And when I'm breathing properly, I have no blood pressure problems.
I can remember when I was a CEO, I would pull into my garage and I had my body was like literally vibrating from my day, all the stuff that happened. And there were a couple of times where I actually did some breathing before I went inside. So I could actually feel like that blood pressure drop like you talked about. And then there are other times when I don't breathe and I just bring that whole bunch of vibrating energy into my house. And, you know, like, but you can feel the difference. And that's why I love what you're talking about. Cause you know, it's a matter of what, maybe a minute, maybe a couple minutes. And
I mean, you can do it for, you know, when I was in the class, we were doing it for 15, 30, 45 minutes. There's one breathing technique that we did that was close to, 45 minutes. And it was almost like a psychedelic, you know, not that I've ever done a psychedelic, but, you know, it would take you to somewhere where it was an outer body experience.
Wow.
It was pretty amazing. So the final one is learning is that no can be a complete sentence. You know, I don't know if you've ever heard it like that, but I love it. I'm sure people have. You know, in our business, I think both of you and I, we're pulled in a lot of different directions. You know, open houses and things that we really need to be at. You know, as I've grown older, I've classified it as FOMO. You know, I don't have FOMO anymore. I have no fear of missing out. And so I realize at times that maybe I don't need to go to this open house at 6:30 at night, or an event that everyone's at, or because I really have to keep my stress level down. I'm around people 24/7, and there comes periods of time where I really have to say no. You know?
Yeah, it's really good. I think when you think of stress, sometimes saying yes to a lot of things piles on your to-do list. Like, you know, it's funny, like in business, you and I see this all the time. People, whenever you have an idea for something, I think we underestimate how much detail and execution is under the surface of the idea. And so we end up like just taking ideas like it's a big buffet without any understanding of the recourse of all the implementation that has to happen for every idea that we take on, you know?
Right. I mean, time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, without getting sidetracked here, but what's the one thing only thing in life that we really have is time. Right. And when you say yes to everything, what do? You lose that, right? I mean, so and I think maybe one day we'll do a show on boundaries and talk quite a bit about that, because I think no is a really, I mean, it's such a simple word, but we could do a whole show on it.
Right.
So,
big
time. My simple tool belt: meditate, breathe, learn breathing techniques. By the way, when I breathe at times too, I have an infrared sauna at my house, and I sit in that and I breathe in that one. That's a great time. So when I go in that sauna, it's a good time to remind me to meditate and a good time to remind me to breathe, right? And then of course, number 3 is, no to FOMO,
say no to FOMO.
Say no a little bit, and I've been doing more and more of that lately. A lot of no's. And I love what you said about not taking it into the house. I think that's a big deal for us is to, you know, have a space where you pull up to your home, don't bring it inside. And I don't, you know, again, I don't always do that. I fall short often.
Same with me. I do like that there are very physical boundaries, my garage to the inside of my house there's a distinguishing place I cross over for that. I like using some things like that sometimes as visual reminders that, oh, let me just leave this here and I can go in there, you know.
Oh, great idea. Yeah.
Well, good stuff, Bobby. Thank you for sharing your tool belt.
You're welcome. You are welcome. And you're welcome to share my tool belt, my friend.
Yes, we're going to share it.
I do have one property today.
What do you got?
Funny, I'm always talking about these properties. I've got one of my personal ones that I've never even brought up. So this one is 120 Carlos Court, and it is in Point, Washington. It's in the historic district of Point, Washington. I built this property recently with a partner of mine, Cash Noble, and Cash dates my daughter, Kelsey Waters, who she's a songwriter in Nashville. We'll have to get her on one day, right?
That'd be cool, yeah.
Yeah, both of my kids. Natasha, well, actually I have three. I've talked about that. Natasha, Kelsey, and Brody. So the problem with that, if I interview one, I got to interview the other one, right?
Well, they're feeling FOMO. They have FOMO.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So 120 Carlos Court is 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, 3.5 baths, excuse me. 2,200 square feet. It's on half of an acre. It is brand new. 1 level, granite tops, stainless appliances, 2-car garage, room to build on. I got room for a pool, room for a carriage house. I am ready to move this property. So I just listed it about a month ago.
Cool.
Had a couple lowball offers, but I'm thinking it's a good value for somebody, and you need to check it out. You can see it on my website at 30alocalrealestate.com or 30alocalproperties.com. And again, I can be reached at 850-865-7798.
Awesome. Good stuff today, Bobby. Thanks, man.
All right, thanks, man.